Hello and welcome. My name's Reardon from thermojo.com. Today we're going to look at Cookidoo and how you can bring in and create your own recipes that you can then use directly on your Thermomix using guided cooking. So firstly, this is where your created recipes live in Cookidoo. So you can see I've got a number here. And in this video, we're going to import a recipe from the Recipe Community. So the Recipe Community predates Cookidoo, and it's a vast collection of recipes contributed to by owners of the Thermomix. You've definitely got consultants in there, and Thermomix themselves have recipes in here, but predominantly it's a community. And what you'll find under each recipe as we come down is a section for comments. So as you can see, this recipe is incredibly popular. It's got over 700 comments. And a lot of the comments will be about variations, because people make variations for their own tastes, and maybe reducing the sugar, changing the flour to gluten-free, for example. I know this recipe can be made with lemons instead of orange as well. So you'll find lots of tips under there. So all you need to do with a recipe from Thermomix Recipe Community to bring it across to Cookidoo is just click on the Add to Cookidoo button. So I'll do that now. It opens a new tab with my Cookidoo. I had already been logged in another tab, and then click on Confirm. And that will just take a second or two and bring it in. So now you're in your own Cookidoo here, and it is showing the edit screen for created recipes. So you can change the photo if you like. Maybe after you've made it, you'd like a photo of your own, and change the title. For example, if you've got a couple of variations of this recipe, you might want to add that variation into the title so it's clear. So it has brought across the ingredients, they're listed correctly, and it's brought across the steps. But if we go back to the recipe, you'll see it's brought in exactly as it was. So it's just one paragraph, even though it's got 2 for the steps, 3 here, 4 there. It hasn't actually had the return, it hasn't separated them out, unfortunately, which means when it comes in exactly the same. So what we're going to do is separate out those steps. So we'll click on Edit, and then I'm just going to click Return after each step here. Go here, and I'll just separate this out. Get rid of that number 3, and I might make this a separate step. Combine, and then that's the end of the processing, and there we go. So they're the key steps, very clearly laid out now, and that only took a second. Now what we need to do is add the processing and adding of the ingredient steps, so that for a guided recipe it will prompt you for the put in the weighing of ingredients, and also have the processing steps pre-coded. So the first 2 steps are fine, they're not with the Thermomix itself, but here we've got place the orange and butter into bowl. So after the word place, I'll just do a space, and then click on this scales icon, which will bring up the list of ingredients. So I'll get the orange, and then a space, and I get the butter. You just click there. So I'll now remove those words, they're not necessary. And then for the mixing step, we'll do the same. Similar, we'll just create a space there, and we'll go to the blades. So if we click on there, we can do the 7 seconds, and then the speed down here is speed 8. Now if there was a temperature for this step, you just click here and set the temperature. So then we'll get rid of the original words that were brought in, and that's that step. So to add the remaining ingredients, we'll just go to the icon for the scales, and we'll select each of those and add a gap between. So eggs, sugar, and flour. That's it. So if you decide you want a variation on this, so for example, I know from reading the comments, and I do myself, I reduce the sugar in this recipe. So if you know that you're always going to do 150 grams of sugar or less, then you can change the ingredients here, but do that before you bring it into this step, because it won't flow through to something that's already been added to the steps. Now the next step is a processing step. So it's 20 seconds, reverse, speed 4. So again, we click on the scales, 20 seconds, click on the speed, speed 4, and then come down to the bottom there and we've got the reverse symbol. And if you don't want reverse, we've got the blade symbol for the standard operation for chopping. And I'm going to get rid of all those extra words that were brought in. So now when the recipe's on your screen with guided cooking, you'll be able to click through and that will be pre-programmed into the recipe. And that is it. I click confirm, successfully saved, and now so now it gives you this screen where you can go and open up the edit for any of the areas and click done. So now I've clicked done. I'll just get rid of this previous one because my internet went down in the middle of doing that one. Here we go. So this is the one I've just added. Click through and it will show us the recipe. So it shows that it was created by me, imported. If we go down here, it says it came from the Recipe Community, and you can see all the steps very clear. So if we go back to our created recipes, from here, you click on the yellow, on the 3 dots, you've got the options to cook today, add to my week, shopping list, and to edit or delete the recipe. So if I click on cook today, we'll go across to my week and have a look at that. I just also want to show you, I've brought this recipe in before, and this is my version. So for me, the recipe I made, and you can see I've got some chopped chips in there, and I've also made this muffins. So they're my key changes. I have actually still got just 200 grams of sugar, but I do actually use less than that, so I should change this as well. And I've just put in my own notes here, so it's telling myself as a reminder which recipe it's using and that I've adapted it for muffins with chopped chips. And I use that all the time when I want to make those muffins, which are really lovely, because the orange cake itself is pretty large, so making it as muffins is a great way to spread it out and throw them in the freezer, and they defrost really well. So if we go across to my week, you'll see that I've got the whole orange cake there. I'll just quickly put something else into my week, just so you can see the difference. So this recipe has not been modified at all. It's a Cookidoo recipe, and these two have been modified. So you can see the ones that you've done as a created recipe. You have the chef's hat symbol, and you have the orange line under here. And you'll also see that difference on your Thermomix when you bring up my week. And the look of the recipes and the process is just slightly different on your Thermomix, and that's something I'll show you in a separate video. So I hope that helps you bring in recipes from the recipe community and to make them your own, make changes. But if not, you don't need to make changes. You can just do that editing. That means all your steps are active. So thank you. I'm Jo Reardon, and you can find me on thermojo.com, and I'm looking forward to helping you more with your Thermomix.